Hello everyone and welcome to my New York City urban garden. Today I'm going to be showing you how to harvest or how to save kale seeds. If you're not familiar how kale seed pods look like, this is how they look after they have been dried out. So this plant, the kale plant, have shown the leaf. Actually, let me show you something because I have a kale plant right here. You can see this kale plant right here, that's not the same as this. So this one still hasn't sent a center stalk yet, or hasn't even gone to seed. So when it does, in order to harvest those seeds, this plant here will start growing really tall and send the center stalk, and then send flowers, very pretty yellow flowers. And then the flowers, when they get pollinated, they will turn into these pods that look nice and tender, almost like a little green bean. And with time, the plant will die and will dry out, and that's when it's ready to harvest your seeds. And I planted this actually last year in the fall, for a fall garden. It overwintered in my garden, and if you watch my garden tours, you will see all the stages of this plant. So once overwintered, since the beginning, you see the first had this beautiful, nice purple leaves, just like this, but purple, and then sending the center stalk and producing the flowers and going to seed, making the pods and going to seed. So what I've done, after a few of the seed pods start getting dried out like this, yellow, I cut off the plant underneath here and I hung it upside down. Ooh, gotta be careful because they're very brittle. I hung upside down in a little shelf that I had there that I used to use as my greenhouse, and let it dry completely. And I also actually had to bring it into my house for a little bit because I had so much rain this week. But then now that it's fully dried, I am going to go ahead and harvest the seed. First, I'm going to just put a little cloth on my table to make sure that when I'm cutting this, I'm not losing any seeds, because this is very brittle. Just listen to this. Can you guys hear? So I have this on my table, and I have a jar here because I'm going to use this to shake it and separate the pods from the seeds from the pods. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut carefully because, as I say, this is very brittle, just to make it a bit easier for me to work. We're just going to cut this into more manageable. You could just go with your hand and pick the pods, but I've done that with my bok choy and they lost a lot of seeds. This is going to go in the compost now, this piece. It was handy to hold it, so it would be easy for me. It's easy to hold upside down. Now, if you just come here and shake this off, the seeds are all gonna fall in this cloth. I've planted brassicas before. You know that the seeds look like this little, I don't know if you'll be able to see here, probably not. Let me see if I can take one pod and just open. This looks like it hasn't been opened yet. Gotta be in it. So very brittle, so I'm going to carefully open. See those little guys here? They're the seeds. I don't know if my camera actually focused on it. I'm gonna throw them in here. Now, to make this so I don't have to open every single pod, I'm going to just put it in a jar here, cut into smaller things that I can put inside. Even smaller than that would be good. Also, if you don't want to do that, you could just put the stuff in here and just, shake everything up, and you'll get the seeds all in the cloth. I find it harder that way because when I'm trying to grab from the cloth, everything falls. So I'm okay with taking some of them that fall in there to contain it. But this way, you could actually even just save the seeds like this if you want to into next year. Seeds like to be stored in the dark, so if you keep them in the seed pods, if they're completely dry, those are the perfect envelopes for them. So you could do that, and then next year, or even this year by the fall, because I'm gonna plant this kale actually for my fall garden, you can just shake the jar so all the seeds will be in the bottom, and then just put it in your hand and go ahead and go planting. You can do that too. It kind of looks cool. I might even leave that in there. It's a little nice decoration piece for your home. Alright, so that's mostly all of our pods. Bring the jar closer to me now. clean up this truly. So once I finish filming this video, I will just pick up the towel and try to put the rest of the things inside this jar. Now that we have this all here, I'm gonna close the jar and I'm gonna shake it. So when I do that, most of the seeds are now falling to the bottom. You can see it. Okay, and you can keep it like this in the jar, or you can take out of this and you just pour, you can just, you know, take the lid off and just pour somewhere, and you can store this in an envelope. You can do this is completely dry. It's okay to put in a plastic little bag. You can use Ziploc bag. Personally, don't really like using single plastic, even though we can wash a Ziploc bag. I prefer not to use them as much, so I don't have them in my house right now. But I would store these. I have these little small paper envelopes. They're made from recycled paper. The only problem with this is if the envelope gets wet, you risk losing your seeds. So it's totally fine to use the plastic ones if you want. I have some silicone stasher bags, and you can also put them in little jars or whatever you want to save them in. But seeds like to be stored in a cool, dark place. It's even okay to store them in the freezer. There are some gardeners that say they can store up to 7 years if you actually put them in the freezer, and they will stay viable until then. I don't have space in my freezer. Most of my freezer is now for food storage. I'm in New York City, so I don't have a space to have an outdoor, like a basement freezer or something like this. So I keep my seeds either in jars or on the silicone bags and little recycled paper envelopes. So you can do whatever works for you, but this is how you save kale seeds, so you can store airtight. And I hope you guys learned something new in this video, and this works for almost anything in the Brassica family. Again, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, etc. Now let me actually show you guys something really cool. So here's the stuff that I took the kale from. So it was hanging right here with this little cord in this shelf, just like this. Alright, now it's not heavy enough, so it's kind of turning, but it was just hanging in there, and then some of the seeds fell into this box that I had some lettuce planted. And check these out, those little guys here, they're kale seedlings. So they fell from that plant that was hanging and is already sprouting. I will let them be because I guess it's okay to get it for the fall garden, but I also want to plant some kale in my beds. This is how my little patio garden looks like. I also took one of the seeds the other day and just threw it in this green stalk. You just put right here in this green stalk, and look at that, it's already germinated, and we have a baby purple kale seedling here too. Kale does really good, or have been doing really good for me in these vertical planters. That's why I want to start filling this up again, and hopefully this will be on my fall when it gets cooled down. I can have some lettuces and kale and some cool weather crops in here. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you're curious about my little New York City garden, I do weekly garden tours, so make sure to check that out. Also, you can see, as I mentioned before, all the stages of that kale plant that we saved those seeds from very early in the spring this year, when it passed its dormancy and started waking up again. So I have all of that on camera, and this is all into the garden tour since the very early ones. And this will be it for today. I hope you learned something new. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.